Welcome back to another episode of Ernest, the Legendary Journeys. I give you episode 1, Ernest Goes to Camp. Ernest Goes to Camp was a movie from 1987, starring Ernest P. Worrell. Yeah, you know who Ernest is, you know who Jim Varney is, right? I mean, if you've watched any videos on my channel before, I did review Ernest Rides Again. Now, that was about 3 or 4 movies after this one. He's a very positive guy, and he's a very optimistic guy, and he's hardworking, but he's just an idiot, and he wrecks a bunch of stuff, and he gets into a bunch of crazy situations, and most of his movies are basically Ernest falling on his face. Ernest starts himself on fire. Ernest gets hit by a car. Ernest falls off a ladder and spouting stupid one-liners. He's always talking about something that has nothing to do with what's actually going on. You gotta roll your eyes at most Ernest jokes, but like, oh my god, that's so stupid. But sometimes it's so stupid you just gotta laugh at it. And Ernest Goes to Camp is no exception to that, because it is stupid AF. The premise of this one is Ernest works at a summer camp for kids, and he's, I guess, like the janitor, the groundskeeper, whatever, but he's aspiring to be a camp counselor, you know, because he sees that as being like so much better and less of a menial job than what he's already doing. And, you know, he wants to help out kids and whatever, and he like learns all the camp regulations and all the rules and stuff like that. The camp is actually owned by a Native American tribe, but this camp has some kind of mineral resource on it, and there's a mining company that wants to come in and scoop it up and, you know, take over the camp and mine the crap out of this area. Meanwhile, there's a group of disadvantaged kids. They're part of this second chance program. They're like juvenile delinquents, and they take them from the juvie hall and they take them out to summer camp. And nobody really at the camp really wants to be responsible for them because they're like bad kids and stuff, and they're just going to be trouble. So they decide that, hey, you know what? Ernest wants to be a camp counselor so bad. Let's give him all these jerky kids to take care of. Anyway, they want to take advantage of Ernest and give him what he wants, but in the hopes that he's going to fail. Well, he doesn't really fail as being a camp counselor, but he fails at a lot of stuff in that, you know, he's getting whacked in the head all the time and getting things dropped on him. He gets bit by a turtle on his nose. There's lots of funny visual, physical comedy in here. It's lowbrow. It's extremely lowbrow. This is made for like 10-year-olds. I wouldn't say it's like violent, but it's like Looney Tunes kind of violent. I mean, Ernest even said it himself in Ernest Rides Again. He said, you know, this would really hurt if I wasn't just this close to being an actual cartoon character. But that's the other movie. This is being the first Ernest movie. There's some weird stuff in here that they were like trying out. Ernest actually sings a song. He sings this like super sad song, and he's singing it with a total straight face. You know, there's no jokes in this song or anything like that. And all the kids at the camp are all sad, and it's like the end of the second act when, you know, everything falls to shit, and okay, now we gotta act 3 is picking up the pieces and whatever. But anyway, the song, I mean, I guess it's not bad, and I guess Jim Varney can sing, but it's so stupid and it's so out of place in here. I think I would have rather had, you know, another 5 minutes of Ernest, like, you know, falling out of a canoe or something like that. Anyway, it's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. It is Ernest, and it is his first movie, and it did pretty well, actually. You know, it's a relative success at the box office, enough to spawn, like, how many Ernest movies are there? There's like 7 or 8 or something. Well, I found this one just a little bit funnier than Ernest Rides Again. I guess because it's a little even stupider than that. The supporting cast in this is kind of hokey, kind of cheesy. You do get John Vernon as the villain. John Vernon being the dean from Animal House, I believe, and also in, you know, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Let's not forget that. He's your standard like comedy movie villain, and he's like intimidating, and he's like the big businessman that doesn't care what happens to the little guy, and blah blah blah. And yeah, he's all right. The rest of the cast, though, oh man, they're all pretty bad. Some of the kid actors are whatever. They're kids, you know. I can excuse that. The cooks that work in the kitchen, oh my god, just their characters are so stupid. They have this like cooking machine contraption or whatever. All the food at the camp turns out like goo anyway, but they have this like big machine and they throw a bunch of shit in there, like whole lobsters and heads of lettuce and bananas and things, and it's a joke that just goes bad like immediately. It's so stupid, and you know, it's just an excuse to throw food in somebody's face, or for these guys to act like asses, like just cartoon characters and stuff. And that's what they were, was cartoon characters. But, you know, being very cartoony, this whole movie, really, you get some funny visual gags in there, that, and some positives in Ernest Goes to Camp. I would say, for instance, you know, Ernest, when he gets a tray slammed into his face, that's pretty funny. And then immediately he stumbles back into the Coke machine, and the Coke machine slams on top of him. Ernest getting hurt, it's always funny, right? He does actually set himself on fire here. He cuts himself. He gets all wrapped up like a mummy by these kids and then unraveled. And in the very beginning, they set up this running joke where Ernest, his maintenance cart, it's not behaving for him, and then so he puts it in gear or something, and then he gets out of it, and the thing drives away, and then the thing's driving around for the entire movie, and it just pops up randomly in scenes, and so that was kind of funny. I mean, by the end of it, though, I was like, oh, really? Still bringing this back? So I got it on this, like, triple feature Ernest DVD pack here. We got Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Scared Stupid, and Ernest Goes to Jail. Ernest Scared Stupid, I think I'm going to save for Halloween. If not this year, maybe next. And Ernest Goes to Jail, I remember being the funny one. There's just more stupid slapstick stuff that happened in that one, and the characters weren't quite so annoying in that one. I'd have to go ahead and give Ernest Goes to Camp a standard old C+. Yeah, it was about as funny as that other one. Maybe a little bit funnier, a few more gags that I liked. I mean, I did find myself laughing out loud a few times at some of these jokes, but it's just not quite B territory because it's not something I'd really go back to. I mean, I am looking forward to those other ones, but all in good time. So there really isn't too much to say about Ernest Goes to Camp. If you like Ernest, you've probably already seen this. If you don't like Ernest, then steer clear. If you don't know anything about Ernest, then where the hell you been for the last 40 years? You know what I mean? So until next time, folks, y'all have a good one out there.